You are listening to the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast, episode number 135, Handling the Negative Things Your Ex Says About You. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, my beautiful brave hearts. I am just so excited today. This podcast is starting out spicy. I had a dream come true. So, huge Britney Spears fan. And I used to be so obsessed with her song Overprotected when I was definitely needing to be overprotected as a child. And I just did a little moment here where I realized I have a microphone. I have a recording device. What would it be like to sing that song all over again? And it was a blast. And I think that I was better at singing when I was younger, or I just thought I was better singing when I was younger. So that was fun. Anyways, today we are here to chat about negative things your ex said about you. This comes up a lot. And I think I did a podcast back in the day. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but I talk about how what your ex says about you doesn't have to be your truth. And what your ex says about you doesn't have to be who you are. Even if you showed up and did crazy things, what your ex says about you doesn't have to be your truth. Everyone's going to have opinions about you. So you can either be fully yourself and people are going to have negative things to say about you, or you can be fake and try to appease everyone and have negative things said about you. And maybe you have an ex who's never said a bad word about you, and that's amazing too. But I really want to talk about handling negative feedback, specifically from your ex, but we're going to use a lot of different examples and scenarios here today. And really, how do you handle criticism? Because we get criticism from a lot of different people. And I think that this really started for me. I mean, I didn't have an ex that really said negative things about me, but I did crazy stuff that I blamed myself for. And they might have said things like, you're just jealous and you need to get over your jealousy issues. And I don't think that that was necessarily like me. And some of it was pretty legit. But I held on to that and I made it mean some extra crummy things about me that really set me back. And another more recent example is negative reviews on my podcast. I struggled a lot last year, was it 2021, I think? The beginning of the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021, I struggled a lot with the negative things that were said about me on the internet. All over the place, actually, like Instagram and the podcast reviews, things like that. And I did a mini lesson actually on this inside of the Next Chapter mentorship program. And it was super helpful for everyone. So I thought, you know what, maybe I should come on and talk about it on the podcast using that example and then applying it to the negative things that your ex says about you, because that's happening inside of the Get Over Your Ex program. So we're going to talk and chat all about this. So I'm going to start out by just explaining to you a couple of things. I'm going to walk through a scenario with you. So I'm getting these negative reviews on the podcast, and I struggled with it a lot because I would get fixated on these negative things that just these random people were saying instead of like the million positive reviews that I had. I have so many positive reviews about how the podcast has changed people's lives, about how it's really helped them. And these are people even that I've never met inside of my programs even. They just listened to the podcast and they had such transformation. And I really put my podcast out there as a resource and a tool, a free resource and tool that I put my energy, my time, my money into, that other people get to absorb for free. And I would get so bitter and annoyed about these negative reviews that I got. And I was like, why am I getting so fixated on all of the negative things that these outliers have to say about me? And why am I not focusing my time and attention on all these positive things that other people are saying? And I feel like a lot of you can relate when it comes to your ex, right? Your ex may have said these negative things about you, and you are so fixated on it that you have friends and you have family who are like, no, none of those things are true. Or no, like, you're an amazing human being. You're awesome. You're so cool and you're so down to earth, and you have so many things going for you, but you get so fixated on just that one thing that your ex said about you. And it really starts to put a damper on your life sometimes. Am I right? So I started really looking at this and figuring out, like, what is the actual problem here, and what is a solution to this problem, and how can I overcome this? And then how can I help you guys overcome the same kind of issue? And here's what I it all came down to. The problem that I find is that we take this feedback on as our truth, regardless of what is actually happening. And we have a lot of mind drama about something that might necessarily be a simple fix. And we ruminate and we stew about it rather than finding a solution. Because sometimes we hold on to this information because we agree with our ex, right? We agree with what they said. They're like, yeah, no, I showed up like a crazy person. I wish I wouldn't have done that. I did do that. Or, I wish that I wasn't as insecure as I am. And we sit there and we stew on it, and we take that and we identify as that person, versus recognizing that there's a difference between the mind drama and a simple fix. And I want to just preface, before we start talking about like things that we can do to help this, I want to preface this with, there's a difference between feedback or things that are being said to you that are just coming from a really mean place, in a hurtful place. You might have had an ex who is hurting, who is experiencing a lot of negative emotions, and they said a lot of negative things about you that were simply projections of themselves. They're hurting, and that doesn't, by the way, I just want to preface that doesn't excuse their behavior, and it doesn't excuse the things that they said about you. But we've got to recognize that those are words coming from a human being, and when someone says something to you, it's all based off of how they're feeling and what they're thinking. So when I think about the negative reviews that are on my podcast, I find it really fascinating to spend a little bit of time thinking about, how was that person feeling that compelled them to take time out of their day to say mean, hurtful things. Well, and I shouldn't even say that. They're words, right? If we're thinking about, I interpret them as mean and hurtful, but not everyone would. But how are they feeling that compelled them to write those words about a free resource that was out in the world? And I really came down to a couple of different things. The first thing is, I'm assuming they're hurting. If they're going through a breakup and they're searching for breakup advice, I'm assuming that they're hurting and they're in significant pain. And their thought is, this isn't helpful, or I can't get the help that I need from this free resource. They might be having thoughts like that. The second thing that I came down to was also, sometimes I wonder if it's like upset ex-boyfriends or ex-girlfriends of my clients who are so upset that my clients are doing so well. But regardless of that, I think it's really important to look at, where is this coming from the other person? What is the other person thinking and feeling that's compelling them to say these words to you about you? And when we do this, it kind of helps me drop into compassion and empathy. Again, I'm not saying that I agree with what they say about me. I'm not saying that it condones their behavior, but I really I've started to identify, what's the difference between feedback that I want to take and put through my, how do I put this? What's the feedback that I actually want to pay attention to? And so to do that for me, I think about what is this person experiencing, thinking and feeling that's leading to the actions of the words they're sharing with me. And then if it's, oh my goodness, this person's just really extremely hurting and they wanted to take it out on someone and I happen to be like that first person, I'm not going to really take their information and put it through my process that I'm going to share with you today. So I want you to keep that in mind is my ex really hurting right now? And that's why they said negative things about me? Do I want to pay any attention to that? Or is this something that I actually maybe want to look into for myself? Is it coming from a caring or a meaningful place? Something that I might genuinely want to work on, and then we can take it through this next process. Okay, so what I want you to think about too is this is like a little bit side note. I had a client who asked her ex for feedback. And I really think that we're doing ourselves a disservice when we do this. Because if your ex broke up with you, they're clearly not the person that you want to be with. They're clearly not a want match. And I don't know if it's really necessary that you want that feedback. When she did ask that, he gave her a very long list of all the things that are wrong with her. And that caused so much mind drama. And of course, we worked through it. She's over it. She's good. But it took a lot to work through. And that could have been avoided. And none of that information is helpful for her moving forward because she already knows the stuff that she wanted to work on before she ever even asked for feedback. And then you get this feedback from a person who doesn't even matter. And again, I said this in my other podcast episode that I told you guys about at the beginning of this episode, where it's like that would be me going to a construction worker site manager saying, hey, can you listen to this coaching call and provide me with feedback? They would have no idea where to start. Of course, they could give me feedback, but that's their own opinion based off of no expertise in the area that I want to be in. What I want is a high-level coach reviewing my coaching calls and providing me feedback, not someone who wasn't a good fit for me. Okay? So I would second guess yourself or question, really, do you really want feedback from your ex, or what are you trying to accomplish there? Because I think you're asking the wrong person. The second thing that I want to talk about is giving equal airtime to feedback from all people. So if you're fixated on something that your ex said about you, I want you to really consider giving yourself just as much airtime in your brain to all of the amazing things that your closest people have to say about you, your friends, your family, your coworkers. You've got to give yourself equal airtime from the positive to the negative. And I'm saying equal. I mean, I would really think about it in a percentage wise. When I think about my reviews on the podcast, it's probably like 90-10. 90% positive, 10% negative. And I should really be giving 90% of my time to the positive reviews, 10% of my time to the negative reviews. And really, it's just gotten down to the point where I just no longer read them anymore. I don't ask for the feedback because it's just not, I love seeing that people are changing and doing so well, but it doesn't really benefit me to see the negative reviews all of the time. And I shouldn't say I never look at them because I definitely still do sometimes, but I'm not constantly checking up on it and, trying to overanalyze it and all the things that I used to do. Okay, so here's what I really want to talk to you guys about when it comes to a process of analyzing and interpreting and then taking and actually doing something productive with the negative things that people say about you. And again, you've got to be very clear about, is this coming from this other person from hurt? Is this just someone being hurt and then projecting that hurt onto me? And do I actually want to do something about it or not? Do I actually want to genuinely, authentically want to work on this? There's a difference. So this is only for individual. This is not for someone has an ex who's just really being unbelievably I don't even know what the word would be to use, but someone who's just being hurtful and mean. that's different. If you received hurtful and mean words from your ex, that's a different thing. And I think you really have to, that just comes down to thought work, where what am I making those hurtful words mean about me? And questioning what you're making that mean. Now, when you get negative, and obviously this process will also help you, so I want you to stay and I want you to listen to this process, but this is for like negative things that someone says about you that a little tiny part of you kind of also believes, and that's why you're taking it on as your own, okay? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to find the truth in what that person has said to neutralize the impact. And what I mean by this is I had a situation where someone reached out to me on Instagram when I was talking about investing in yourself. And I recorded a whole podcast episode on this as well a long time ago. I forgot about that. But they said that I was being irresponsible by telling people to invest in themselves when the pandemic first hit. And I looked for a lot of like the truth in that. And even same thing in like the negative reviews on my podcast where someone had mentioned I speak about my course too much. And I'm like, I can totally see the truth in that. I talk about my course a lot, but it's also like you're asking me to not talk about my child. My course is my work. It is my life. I am so proud to be able to offer the world a real solution to heartbreak that changes people's lives. And you're asking me not to talk about it on my own platform. Like that doesn't, so I can see the truth in that. Yes, I do talk about it quite frequently, but because that is my work and I don't feel like changing that. That's not something that I'm going to change. I'm going to talk about my work at the top of my lungs because I believe that it's important. That doesn't mean you have to, as a listener, have to stay and listen to it if you don't want to. No one's telling you or forcing you to listen. So I found the truth in what they were saying, and that helped me neutralize the impact because I'm like, yeah, I can totally agree with that. And even stuff where I see it and I'm like, you know what, I do want to work on that. It happened a lot in my last relationship where he would be like, Dor, you're doing this. I'd be like, you know what, you're so right. I am doing that. And that is something that I want to work on. And just acknowledging the truth in what someone has to say, I think is beneficial to both parties to find the truth in what they're saying. And then the second thing is you have to decide on purpose what you want to think about yourself regardless of what they're saying. So even if there is truth to what they're saying, what do you want to think about yourself and how do you want to feel about yourself before we go in and try to change or become better in that area? So for me, when it came to, these negative reviews and stuff, especially around the course, I decided on purpose, I'm going to believe that I'm doing the work that I'm meant to do on this planet. I am showing up in the best way I know how, and I love talking about my program. And I'm going to believe that I'm doing my best, and I know that no matter how much I talk about my program, I am going to be serving the people who want to be served and who want my help. And so when I believe that, I can still go about trying to change and adjust in the right way. Another negative review that I got once was about poor mic quality. And I'm like, this is so funny to me because I remember the episode that she was talking about and I was like, I agree. I totally agree. The mic quality could have been better. And I would have rather get it out there with half, not as great mic quality so that people can benefit from it than not get it out at all. But the beautiful thing about this is where the idea of a simple fix or mind drama was created, because I could have spent, when I think about like the negative reviews about the course, about the program, I spent 6 months, you guys, wallowing in all of these negative reviews about me and all these negative things that people had to say about me. And I spent 6 months just being upset about it. And one day my coach was like, does a part of you agree with them? And I said, yeah, I can think of 3 episodes where I was talking about the course from a place that didn't feel aligned. And she said, well, why don't you just go back and you fix it? I'm like, what? Why haven't I not thought of that? She's like, yeah, how long is it going to take you? I'm like, maybe 45 minutes to go through that and then chop it and re-upload the episode. And all of a sudden, the mind drama was gone because there was a very simple fix. Same thing with the mic quality. So instead of spinning for 6 months about this mic quality, mic quality review, I decided to fix it and re-record the episodes. There were 5 episodes that needed to be re-recorded. It took me 1.5 to 2 hours to re-record all those episodes and then re-upload them. And so instead of spinning it for 6 months in mind drama, I decided to create a simple fix and adjust and pivot and do it different. Fix it moving forward. And it's such a beautiful place to be. Now, notice though that I didn't create the simple fix from agreeing and then having negative self-talk and making it mean I'm so lousy, I'm the worst. I did it from the place of I believe that my work matters. I believe that I'm doing my best. And from that place, I will fix the things that make sense for me to fix. From my point of view, not from the feedback that I got, but from my point of view. And it's so powerful. So when it comes to the simple fix, you've got to really identify, number one, identify what specifically you'd change based off of the feedback that you gave, right? So we've already identified the truth in what someone says to neutralize the impact. We decided on purpose what you want to think about yourself regardless of what happened. And then if you've decided that it is something that you'd rather have a simple fix over instead of mind drama, you've got to really identify what specifically you'd change, right? And then number 2, do you want to change that and explore how long is it going to take for me to change that? Do I want to spend time in mind drama during that time, or do I want to create a simple fix? Number 3, make it a priority to change, not from a place of bad, right? But from a place of it was good and now it's getting better, right? And when we think about this in terms of negative feedback from an ex, let's say your ex said, I'm just using my own personal examples here, but you need to work on your jealousy. Your jealousy is like out of control. You're insecure. I can't even go up to talk to a girl at a party without you like freaking out. So I find the truth in what he says. I'm like, yes, I do agree with that. I hate the feeling that I have when you go up to a girl and you talk to a girl at a party. So I'm neutralizing the impact. It's not just him. I also see that, and I recognize that, and I acknowledge it. I'm going to decide on purpose that I believe I'm doing the best that I can, regardless of all the things that have happened in the past around that topic. I'm doing the best I can. I was doing the best I can, and I'm only getting better. That's what I'm going to decide to believe about myself on purpose. And then I'm going to get to work making it a simple fix instead of having mind drama about it for forever. I'm going to identify specifically what I'd change in that situation. So in that specific situation, I would like to change, instead of reacting at the party, grabbing him, getting upset, starting a fight, I would actually like to change that. And I would like to, in the future, in future relationships, I would like to sit down, take a break, go to the bathroom, sit down, look at what thoughts are creating my feelings, process the emotion, allow myself to feel the insecurity and not react to it. And I'd like to get really good at sitting with that emotion and then not making it mean something. And that is something that I want to change, and I'm going to make it a priority to change, not from a place of I'm a terrible person because I don't have this under control, but from a place of I'm only getting better at this. That is literally how I cured, but how I addressed my insecurity and jealousy issues in a breakup. And it was beautiful because in that specific time frame, I didn't have my partner Matthew didn't leave, and we were able to practice that together, and that was a beautiful thing. And now that I'm in this relationship with Jake, it hasn't come up, and that's been a beautiful thing for me that took practice. But I really want you to think about this, because you can start taking this negative feedback, and you don't have to have mind drama about it if you believe that there's truth to it. But you get to take ownership over it, and that's a very powerful thing to do, and then decide what kind of simple fix you want to have for it that will help you in your next relationship. And I think that's a beautiful thing, taking the lessons you learned from that last relationship and then doing something with it and showing up as the person you want to be. All right, my beautiful brave hearts, another long episode here. My apologies, but I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you enjoyed talking about the simple fix or mind drama when it comes to handling negative things your ex says about you. If you want more help around this, of course, we are tackling it inside of the Get Over Your Ex program. It is now open. You're welcome to join us. I invite you to come join us. It is so much fun to be able to do this work together, and I'm always so grateful to be a part of your journey. All right, my brave hearts, I'm sending you so much love, and I will talk to you next time. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course, where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.